नमस्ते सबैजना। आज फेरि म यो मेन्टरिङको सेसन लिएर आएको छु। हामीले यसलाई मेन्टरिङ 101 भनेर नामाकरण गरेका छौँ। सो कोच मी एउटा ब्रान्डको थ्रुबाट चाहिँ हामीले यो सेसनहरू चलाइरहेछौँ। यसको उद्देश्य भनेको चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि अम, जो मान्छेले चाहिँ केही अचिभ गरिसकेको छ लाइफमा, एक्सपिरियन्स धेरै भोगिसकेको छ, उहाँहरूबाट पनि हामीले केही सिक्न सक्छौँ कि उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ आफ्नो मेन्टरको रूपमा लिएर चाहिँ मेबी वी क्यान लर्न समथिङ भन्ने उद्देश्यले चाहिँ यो प्रोग्राम स्टार्ट गरिएको थियो। सो आजको दिनमा चाहिँ हामीले मिस स्याम वुल्स्ट्रालाई चाहिँ इन्भाइट गरेका छौँ। स्याम वुल्स्ट्रालाई चाहिँ मैले नोन हर फर लङ टाइम। मैले लास्ट इयर जोइन गरेदेखि उहाँलाई चिनेको छु एन्ड वर्क अन्डर हर फर almost 14-15 years. And I've learned so much from her, and I thought this would be an opportunity not just for me to have her on the show, but also for people just watching to learn something from her as I did. So let's just welcome Sam to the show.
Namaste, everyone.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Bhuvan. Nice to see you.
Namaste, Sam. Yeah, same here. Yeah, I've known you for a long time, and I've worked with a lot of leaders. I've worked under a lot of leaders, and I can very confidently say that I've learned the most from you. Actually, we were discussing mentorship a few episodes back, and I kind of realized that I was being mentored by you somehow, and I picked up a lot of good habits from you, like when I'm running groups and school trips and stuff like that, how I'm always planning ahead, and what happens next is very important. All those kind of things, the planning part of it, we're always pre-planning and all of that, and there's so many other things that I've learned, and even my staff that I work with, my team members, they tell me that, they remind me, okay, you're doing it like Sam is doing, and it's a good thing. I've learned so much from you, so I just wanted to kind of let our viewers know a little bit about you, not just with the last resort, but if you were to tell your short story about you and then how you got connected with Nepal.
Mm-hmm. First of all, I'm happy to do that. So first of all, it's so interesting how everyone has their own experience, right? And memories about something and a relationship. Because my memories of working with you, Bhuvan, is we started at the same time. And we took on this new role within Last Resort together. And when you say, oh, I worked under her and I learned so much from her, it's like, well, I learned so much from you. And I think what we did so well is work together and brainstorm together. And it was such a great merger of different experiences, different ways of looking at the world, different ways of doing things. And I think our main thing that we were really good at is just try things out, not to be scared of trying things out, doing new stuff. Sometimes we failed dismally. It was a disaster. And sometimes it was really successful and it worked really well and we could tap each other on the shoulder. And we faced some pretty challenging situations together, insurgencies and natural disasters and losses. And I think we were a team. We were a perfect team. And that's my experience of how we work together. So, I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for that. And if I shared with you things that were useful, you shared with me things that were extremely useful. And I think that is when it works. That is when a working relationship really works. It's not so much about hierarchy or working under or working above, or it's sort of trying to figure out what each has to offer within a working relationship, and sort of focusing on that and bringing that in. And I think we did that really well. So that was sort of in response to how you introduced me, and thank you for that. And
I completely agree. I think it was a change of working style for me, where you're not treated as a junior, or so that's something that we've now always maintain at the last resort. Is of course there's on paper there's who has this position, who has that position, but exactly like you said, it's not. It's only in your head.
And it doesn't even have to be in your head.
Yeah. True.
Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed all of that. So, my goodness, the question, my relationship with Nepal, in a nutshell, I come from Holland, and I was working there in a total different function. I was working in the corporate world, buying art for companies. Then got into travel. I just went on a few journeys, and I was like, my goodness, this is just better than anything. I got the travel bug, and to great dismay of my parents, because my parents quite liked where I was, and I was doing well, and I had a nice title and a nice business card, and they're like, oh, thank God, she's landed at a good spot. And then the next moment, there she goes. She quit her job. She went traveling, and I traveled on public transport. I cycled through India. I rode a motorbike from Europe to Nepal. So adventure just hooked into me. And all of a sudden, I wasn't in the corporate world with a big title, but to make a living, I became a tour guide. Well, my parents were not that impressed with that, I have to tell you. They were just like, my mom for quite a long time still sent me emails with like job advertisements that she thought were really suitable for me. So to sort of make me change my mind, because tour guide wasn't quite the title that she had in mind for her daughter that had been to university and had all these qualities. But I loved it. And I loved it because it gave me the opportunity not only to experience different cultures, different countries, but to work with the people in those countries. So it was a whole different way of learning about different cultures. And most of the places that I traveled with groups were in Asia. And quite slowly, my time in Nepal would extend. I would sort of lead more treks and take more groups, build relationships, and I just fell in love with Nepal as a country. So when I got some opportunities here, when I got some opportunities to stay in Nepal, I took them. And out of that became the wish to sort of be involved with business, with tourism in Nepal, but in quite a sort of my way. And then the opportunity came for Last Resort. So I got to know the partners there, and they invited me to be part of the team. And honestly, if you would have told me even a few years before that I would be involved with a bungee jumping company in Nepal, I would say, have you gone absolutely nuts? No way, me? But there I was. And that's about the time when I met Buan. And that's what we kept on doing for quite a long period of time. And then slowly, like while I was in Nepal, I also another really amazing, a great interest of me lays in more of a spiritual path. So I had this amazing opportunity while being in Nepal to study with great inspiring teachers, ranging from yoga teachers, yoga masters, Tibetan Buddhist Rinpoches, and common people just on a bench having a chat. So, you know, I really honestly believe that teachers come in many different shapes and forms. So yeah, that took me on another journey while with Last Resort to study yoga, and I brought that more into my life. And then I met more yoga teachers in Kathmandu, and we decided to open up a space with classes, and so we did that. And so we had yoga classes running in Tamil, in Patan, in Pokhara at one stage, and in Boda. And yeah, so one thing led to another. So yeah, we did retreats also, and yeah, so that's a little bit my journey. And then during a retreat that I was co-teaching, I met this quite amazing man, and he, after the retreat, during the retreat, he was just doing all the teaching. After the retreat, he invited me for lunch, and 5 years later, I am in Australia with this man, and we've been married happily for a few years. And so it's just an example of how life can send you in so many different directions, because honestly, I thought I would be, you know, an old, sort of one of those older ladies, Western ladies that, you know, came to Kathmandu in the 60s and never left and get cremated on the ghats. I thought I would be like one of those. But life just sent me in a different direction. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Very, very well put. When you were talking about your story, you mentioned that you had some pressure from your parents as well about being a tour guide. And we in Nepal, we think, you know, it's just our parents here in Nepal, Western people, like there's no pressure on you, and you can do whatever you want without any pressure from your parents or society. And you think there's real pressure in Western society from parents?
Well, it's maybe, you know, I'm getting on, you know, some of these hairs are blonde and some of them are gray. So I come out of a time when there was less financial pressure on study choices and stuff, because there was the fees were a lot less. So I think that's one major pressure, the financial pressure, that is really a big one. Particularly, of course, in Nepal, also because the international schools fees and even, you know, continuing education are so high.
Sure.
So I think that's a different pressure. But yeah, I wanted to study art history. I really loved art, you know, and that was sort of what I wanted to do. And my mother said, art history? You're never going to get a job in art history. Why don't you study law? Well, there was nothing more boring, I thought, than studying law. So I had and got a little bit the support of my dad, who quite liked art too. So he was like, oh, well, just give it a go and see how you go. And then, but my mom was, she was convinced that nothing would come out of that, right? So there was that pressure there. But one, as you know, I've always been quite stubborn.
Yeah.
And I've always sort of done things a little bit, maybe a bit different or my way. And so before I graduated from uni, I had already landed a job that I liked within the art world. And then all of a sudden, my mother, you didn't hear her anymore. She would talk to her friends and say, be so proud of, you know, and of course, you know, she has this really great job in the art world and she's doing great. And I was like, what about the law degree?
But don't you think you would have been a good lawyer too, a great lawyer?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I don't have the head for that type of studying. I'm quite a visual person. And for me to make something happen even, in how I set up all these different businesses. For me, I need to be able to have a picture in my head of how it's going to look or how it would function. And it's literally like a film shot. And when I can picture what it would look like and how it would work and how it would function, I can make it work. But with law books,
Yeah.
a little bit different. So no, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, maybe this wouldn't have made a lot of sense to us a few months ago, but after being trained on NLP, we now know what being a visual person means. Or some people are very attracted by sound, and some people are very feeling oriented. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You talked about stubbornness, like a lot of young people, even in Nepal. They're thinking, I would really like to do that. I'm really passionate about something, but I feel really pressured by either society or even friends or parents or relatives and stuff like that. Do you think once you know what you really want, stubbornness is a good quality to have? And what's the worst that can happen?
As long as you are not hurting someone else or going over someone else in a really negative way with your stubbornness, because there's different aspects to being stubborn. As long as you stay open to other people's opinions and take them in, but then still being guided by your own passion and your own little stubbornness, especially when it's stubbornness of like, I know I can make this work. Even though people are saying this is not possibly ever going to work, I just know that it will. That type of stubbornness is what creates great things. It reminds me of of a story about, in the Nepali context. A few years back, I was having a cup of tea with Mrs. Yaktumba. She's the founder of Gyanodaya School. And she said, when she was young, she decided she had this vision of starting up a school. And so she got this one classroom and she had a few students, and every day the same man would come around. It was a man, and he would come around and she would have to make him some tea because they were somehow related. I can't remember that part of the story. And every day he told her, stop while you still can. You're embarrassing yourself. It's not going to work. Why are you still doing this? For day after day after day. And she would smile and she would say, oh yes, thank you for your suggestion. She would serve him tea, and still she would continue with what she loved doing. And she made an amazing, huge school. And so it's so important to have a bit of that stubbornness.
Nice. I've heard that story before. Very, very inspiring. Yeah, nice.
I probably told you that before.
Yeah, it must have been you. Definitely.
I love that story.
You were talking about, when you actually started a business in Nepal, it was a huge risk. How do you think taking risk actually helps you grow? Because there's a lot of young people who are hesitant about taking actions or really pursuing their goals because they're afraid of failures. What would happen if I fail and then I disappoint everyone around me? And there's this fear of failure kind of pulls them back. And a lot of us suffer in that way. We don't do what our instinct tell us to do because we're gripped by this fear. So what kind of got you over that? Because I'm sure there would have been some kind of fear in you, like what if this investment goes to waste? It was a very, very problematic time in Nepal. right? No one would actually advise you to invest in a country like that when we had civil war going on. And
Yeah.
so, what would you tell those young people who are afraid of failure?
Well, some of my Nepali friends put it very plainly. They told me I was a pago manche to invest in Nepal at that time.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, thank you. So I did the same thing. Thank you for your advice. But I still can see this work.
yeah,
I did. Yeah, of course. You sit with it and you ask advice from people whose opinion you value. But then at one stage, you just got to take that plunge. And again, it really is that how passionate do you feel about it? And in one way, I think I was talking to a friend of mine, and exactly that question came up. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, in the worst case, I could lose my investment. I might have to bow my head and sort of give in that it didn't work. But I tried it. At least I wouldn't look back when I was 70 and sort of said, I wonder how my life would have been if I'd taken that opportunity. I just gave it my best shot. And some things work and some things don't work. And it's not, not making it blasé and easy, especially when it is about, financial risk. Yeah, you got to weigh it up and you got to get opinions and you got to scroll down numbers on pieces of paper. But then at one stage, you got to go beyond that. And you just got to have the trust that gut feeling that you have about it being a good thing to do. You just got to follow that.
Yeah,
because
it doesn't
when
necessarily. Sorry.
You go on. No, because when when you stay within your head, that's really what I now sort of understand more. When you just stay in your head, you can argue with yourself. You can have this discussion forever with the pros and the cons, because your head can argue each side until the cows go home. That's what we sort of say. You say here, until the cows come home. Forever. So at one stage, you gotta just drop from your head into that gut. And that's sort of where your intuition lies more, and sort of find the courage there and go with how it feels to do it.
So would it be something like, I read somewhere that your brain is designed to protect you, and any change can be perceived by your brain as a threat. And so all these arguments are trying to hold you back and keep you in a safe place of no change where you are right now. So would it be something like that, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's safety and familiarity. So something that feels more safe. And therefore, when you're deciding to make monumental change, there will be the alarm system, the amygdala in your brain that will say, "Oh, are you sure?" And then all the voices will come in and all the different arguments. And sometimes you will have, only a one-on-one discussion, or you might have a whole panel of opinions in your head. You hear the voice of your parents and your teachers and your peers, and they all are starting. And in the end, it's just like, overload. And what do you do? So I think, it is. There is a function of your brain to keep you safe. But we don't always have to listen to that aspect. I think it's really important. The aspect of trust there is really important. Because when you trust yourself, and when you trust that inkling, that feeling in your, like with me, it's really, it's in my belly. It's like that more intuitive knowing. When you trust that, there is safety in that. So the safety that you get from trust can then override that whole panel in your head that is telling you all those reasons why you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. Does that help? Does that make sense?
No, it does help. It's just like for me as well. It comes from gut. I think for some people it's the chest, and even I've heard people shoulders, and yeah,
Yeah.
it could be. It's a personal thing,
Yeah.
but also there's a need to balance this right. Right. I mean, you cannot go and take risk. Um, without any calculations, and then risk more than you can actually afford to lose. So that's something that they would have to, or we all would have to take in consideration, especially if
Well,
you're risking your parents' money.
well, exactly. And I think that is where the mind is also so important. The mind is, we're sometimes dishing the mind, but the mind is an amazing tool of doing research, of doing calculations, of weighing stuff up.
Yeah.
But I do find that once you come to the point and you've done your research and you figured it out, that what actually makes you do it comes more from the body in a way. Yeah. Or
Nice.
more a deeper knowing. Yeah. Well, that's my experience, and I'm sure that people have other experiences. But that's
Exactly.
also the type of person you are. Some people are just really mindy people and just, base their decisions only on research. For me, it's always been, it needs to fill me with excitement. It needs to
Yeah.
fill me with energy. I need to feel motivated and keen and can't wait to get going on something other than numbers on a piece of paper. But that's me.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Like there's a lot of young boys and girls who are who are studying at the moment, and they're thinking of getting into this business world. And uh, at the moment you hear of a lot of people suffering from anxieties and stress because of the workload, the kind of business world we've got, the way our societies run, how we measure our success and all that. There's a lot of people suffering from within, right? So the young guys who are planning to venture into the business world, what would your advice be to prepare themselves internally for this world, or even the world is changing because we all recognize it's not working, the stress and the anxiety. So how do you think they can prepare?
Yeah, there is something, and you can give it different names, but for me, the name sort of inner resource works. Like a resource is, something that can help you, or that is a support. And an inner resource for me is like, it's a felt sense. So it's a feeling inside of okayness, of a sense of safety, of ease, of comfort, moment to moment to moment. And of course, life catches up and there's overwhelming things that come in, and it throws you out of that felt sense in your body, right? There might be anxiety, or you might be really nervous or frustrated or even down. But for me, coming back to that felt sense in the body is really important. And how I do that, I really made a practice out of that. So how I did that was, I would imagine a place, or I would remember a place. So for me, I really love the sea, which is a strange thing in Nepal. I also love being on top of a mountain, but I also like the sea. And because I'm now in Australia, I got reunited with my love for the sea. So I would put myself on the beach watching the sea.
Yeah.
But I could picture myself sitting on a top in Nepal and on top of a mountain in Nepal and watching the snow peaks. because that has a similar effect on me. So I would just put that image there. I would imagine that I would be there. And then I would invite some people that inspire me, or that who support me, or I feel when I'm with them, I feel that I can just be me and it's okay. And I would imagine that they're with me, and they could be friends or family, or they could be someone you look up to, or a teacher, or a pop star, anything, right? So I would let's stick with Nepal. So I would imagine myself sitting on the top of a mountain. I would have a few people around me that when I'm with them, I feel this ease, comfort, safety. And I would start to feel that even though this is I'm not actually on the top of the mountain with these people, but because I'm picturing it, I can feel the settling in my body. Because your body sort of responds even to things that you're imagining, or that you make a picture of in your mind's eye. So I would sort of feel that settling in my body. And then I would shift my attention from that picture of me on the mountain with the snow peaks. And I didn't no longer need that picture. I just shift my attention to how that feels inside me. And I really feel that in my chest.
Okay.
There's a bit more expansion in my chest. I can breathe more easily. And I did that practice every morning. So when I would wake up in the morning, before I would start, my list of things to do and get ready and think, what's the next step, I would lay in bed and I would picture myself there, and I would find that feeling within me. Okay. And sort of set the intention to take that with me into my day. And then I might do that a few times during the day if that felt useful, but always before I would fall asleep, when I'm in bed again and I'm ready to fall asleep, I would put myself there again, so that I would fall asleep in that feeling, okay, and a sense of ease and a sense of comfort. And the funny thing is, you need that whole process less and less. It's much easier to come to that feeling within yourself as you practice. And now, actually, if something overwhelming happens, or I'm starting to feel really anxious, or I'm scared, or I'm nervous, or that feeling sort of comes up automatically and supports me. So that's something that I have really, really used, because it brings you back to the trust and the safety within you, and not depending on something outside of you to give that to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that I do.
Okay, and it's, you said that what you visualize, your brain takes it as something real, right?
Yeah, because your brain actually can't make the difference between something that you visualize or something that is real. Really, you don't have to be on top of a mountain. You can picture that. It's the same as with top athletes. When they are injured, they still imagine that they're doing the practice, and they still get benefits from that, even though they can't actually physically do the practice. So it's actually something that the mind does. It just believes it. So
if a cyclist kind of visualizes himself cycling and then all of that, he actually gets the benefit of cycling?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of research about that. You can look that up at Mr. Google.
Okay, so if you think there are areas in your leadership that you need to improve, you can actually visualize and improve your skills that way. Like if you think your communication skills are not that good, you can actually visualize yourself communicating well, and all of that actually benefits you somewhat.
Yeah, it does. And another practice that you could do with that is at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, make a little review of your day in your head. So what were my strengths today? What were my weaknesses today? What am I happy with? What did I think that I did well? What are things that maybe didn't go so well? And then can you imagine yourself doing that differently? So literally seeing yourself doing that differently. How would you do that differently? And imagine yourself doing it.
Yeah.
That makes a difference, because with that, you're sort of creating a new neural pathway, to use a scientific term. But yeah, you're creating the opportunity or the possibility of doing it different the next time, especially when something is a pattern. You know, we all have these things that we tell ourselves, oh, I don't like it when I do this, and bang, you do it again. And then, I did it again, and I beat myself up, and then I do it again. Right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of a pattern. It's almost unconscious. So the only way to break a pattern like that is when you really imagine yourself doing it differently, step by step, seeing yourself do it. And then that creates, when you're at that junction again, when you're about to do the same pattern, what that does is it puts a pause where you might do the same thing again, but you're more aware of doing the same thing, or you might actually do it differently.
Oh, nice. So it's not like something you do once and then it's all fixed. It's something that you have to practice every day, right? And then you get better and better at it.
Well, especially if it's a habit that you've created over a longer period of time, then yeah, you're gonna have to take a little bit of time to break that habit or that pattern.
Oh, this is a really useful tool. Something very simple, and for young guys and girls, they can actually start practicing their success right now. Maybe they can imagine a world where they're successful and it's just, a lot of compassion and all of that, and maybe even create new kind of leadership, new kind of world. What do you say? Sorry.
I think when you're talking about world leadership, just make the changes to yourself, and then the rest will sort of do its thing. Because when you go too big, it's very quickly to get overwhelmed. But sort of, the changes you want to see, just start with yourself. Make those changes within yourself, I think, is the main thing. Yeah, it's very easy to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I agree. And that's also something that we've seen in real life as well, right? When someone sets a very good example, even in a small community, a small village, or anywhere, a company, then it just spreads like wildfire. Everyone starts doing the same thing because you're leading by examples. I've heard quite a few people when you're talking about meditation and mindfulness exercises, they say it takes a lot of time. And they don't have that time. But does it really have to be? Can you do short? It can be 10 minutes every day, 15 minutes every day, right?
I don't know who said that, but there was a teacher who said, if you say that you don't have time to meditate, you need to make time to meditate, because it will actually give you more space. It will make you more effective. It will make you change your priorities. So yeah, I actually like that one. And it doesn't need to be long. No, that practice that I described that helped me so much is when you wake up in the morning, 5 minutes. Sometimes I hang out with that because it feels so nice to, connect with that feeling good within myself. I might hang out there for a little bit longer, but some days I need to do stuff and do it before you go to sleep. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you'll fall asleep. It doesn't need to be big things, but I think the main thing is consistency and wanting to do it again, right? If you do something, I really should be doing this practice, and I really should be doing mindfulness, and I really should be. Yeah. That's not a great motivator. then any excuse that will come into your mind, you will happily grab that and run with it. Well, if you focus on how it makes you feel differently when you do it. So every day when you've done it, do you feel a difference? How is it different? And can you let the difference that it makes to you be the motivator? Then you'll do it. That's a
Yeah,
different way of getting yourself to do things.
I agree. It's an excuse because I was using similar excuse when about reading books. I
Mm-hmm.
was always say, yeah, I would like to read books. I had loads of books on my on the side of my bed, and
Yeah.
never actually read quite a lot of them. So, and then I took this class, super reading, and I realized that it was just an excuse. You can actually read quite a bit, even if you just read 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And I was amazed to figure out that well, calculated 10 minutes a day comes to 60 hours a year, and yeah, that was like a mind blown experience for me, realization. And you're absolutely right. We use it as an excuse.
Mm.
Even when I talk to other people about reading books now, a lot of them say I don't have any time. But it's not exactly like you said. It can be
Mm.
small actions more than like really demotivating hours and hours of commitment.
Yeah.
Um, One last question I would like to ask is, what is one thing that you do every day and you would advise people to do it, and why?
Well, I already shared with you one thing that I do every day. When I wake up in the morning, I have a pause. Of course, my mind is saying, "Oh, what am I doing today?" And then I pause, and then I just check in. I don't have to go to the beach anymore or on the top of the mountain in Nepal. I can find that feeling within myself more easily now. But I check in with that, and the other thing that I do on a regular basis, pretty much every day, is sort of checking in with myself. Is sort of sitting down when I'm sipping some tea or when I'm driving to work, or it's like, hey, how are you today? Just having having a little feel into that and a little connection into that. And if the answer to that is, well, feeling a bit anxious or feeling a bit, funny mood or a bit gloomy, or then I ask, what is it that I need to bring in today to bring myself more into the center, more connected to myself, feeling just maybe that tiny little bit better. So sometimes that might be that I need to slow down a little bit, or I need 15 minutes of time for myself. Sometimes it means that, I need to do something fun. I might need to have to pull a funny face or go dancing, or, do something that I really enjoy doing. Maybe I've taken myself too serious for too long a period of time. So yeah, I need to lighten it up a little bit. What is it that I need? Do I need to spend more time with a friend or with my husband? Or yeah, I think we have all those answers, but we sort of get really caught up with the world around us and all those interactions, whether it is in real life or online at the moment. And we sort of forget to check in with ourselves. So just checking in and say, hey, how are you today? I think is something that I find really useful. So maybe, that is useful to other people too.
Yeah, that's an awesome but also very simple tool. It's
Hmm.
funny how we always check with so many people around us. How are you today? And we
Yeah,
show care and compassion to everyone around us, but we always tend to think of ourselves the last. So which is
true.
really nice, nice tool. Any last words before you go, Sam. We have a couple of minutes.
Mhm. I just wanted to thank you and say how awesome this is, and yeah, how excited I am about seeing this type of platform in Nepal. I think it's really useful. I think these discussions are really useful. I've learned so much from other people that did funky things and that took risks, or that, maybe didn't need to fit particular boxes. We really try to fit the boxes and have
Yeah.
the right study and the right job and the right title and the right car and the right house and the right family formation. And I don't know, I've always somehow, felt attracted to people that might not fit all those boxes, but they were just so filled with life. So I think, if anything, don't be scared of making mistakes. Don't be scared of, failures. When I look back, my God, of course I've made many mistakes and many failures, but if I would let that get me down and, never get up and do something else again, then what's it worth? No, you learn from it and you become stronger, and you gain depth by making mistakes and fixing stuff that maybe didn't go the way you thought it might go. But at least you gave it a go. I think that is something that when we were working together, Bo, and at Last Resort, we were always trying to hammer out there. It's like, it doesn't matter what your ideas are. It doesn't need to be perfect, but please give us your ideas. Please contribute to any brainstorming. No idea is stupid. No question is ever stupid. Just trust yourself in that you have something to contribute. And I think that's the main thing. That with my gray hairs now, that's something that I would love to share. Don't be scared to make mistakes. Just do it.
Nice. Talking about gray hairs. Thank you so much, Sam. This was, I think, so far one of the most effective episode, because we learned a few tools, very easy to use, that you can just take it and then try it and see if it works. And anyone can use it right away. And hopefully this will make our lives better. And even for young people, they can try, just asking. The best one was just checking in with yourself. That's something that I'm going to start trying. Because you're always the last person you care about. Well, even if you care about yourself, you don't show it. So if it's important to show other people that you care, it's also important to show yourself that you care. So thank you, Sam. This is something that I'm going to try from today. And always a pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for your time, Sam.
You're very welcome. Awesome. Bye.
Awesome, Sam. Yeah, see you soon. I'll talk to you soon, Sam. Bye.
Okay, bye.